We're going to look at Pilates versus traditional strength training today, and I want you to understand it's really comparing apples and oranges, or more like a fruit salad where everything can commingle and coexist. I am a Pilates teacher and movement educator more in the somatic and biomechanical kinesiology realm of things, as well as Pilates and Pilates repertoire, not traditional strength training. So if you're interested in adding that in, please find a very seasoned and knowledgeable traditional strength training person that knows how to work with you based off of what your goals are, but more importantly, how you like to work and what is right for your body, right? You want to find a good balance of someone who can listen and understand, is not just driving their own personal agenda forward. That's with any teacher, any movement practice, anything really in life. And if you want to skip ahead to class, you want to skip this whole chunk where I talk about things, just go ahead and hop over to class. You're going to do a balance of strength training and Pilates mat repertoire exercises. So get on over there if you just want to move. The first thing we're going to talk about is an isolated focus versus full body engagement. So in traditional strength training, the goal is to build strength, muscle mass, things like that. So your goal is to increase weight into the joints. So you might do that by fatiguing the muscles, because studies show you can either increase your reps until fatigue, or you can increase your weight until you fatigue out, right? That's how you're literally going to build muscle and muscle mass and build strength. Now, depending on where you're starting, that might look very different. It doesn't mean that you do Pilates, you're not going to get some kind of strength. It just means it's different than loading your body that heavy. When you're doing traditional strength training, think leg day, arm day, core, cardio. Like, you're kind of segmenting things out so you can really target them and facilitate them. Now, you're still moving your whole body, because we do not move in a vacuum of just this part moves and nothing else moves. You're still moving your whole body. Everything is still working and getting conditioning, but you're going to target specific muscle groups. Whereas in Pilates, we're going to be kind of focusing, organizing everything all at once, right? So you're going to be thinking about stabilizing your core, where you move your arms and legs around, or how you're going to use your breath to control your spine and your core as you roll up and down or move it around, so you're really using that as this full body experience every single time you're doing Pilates, right? So you're engaging everything. Even if you're thinking about your legs, you still got to keep your trunk engaged. If you're on your hands and knees, you got to keep your shoulders integrated to your trunk. All of those things are working together. Number 2 is breathing and movement control. In traditional strength training, again, your goal is to increase the load. So you're looking at how you're going to use your breath, which is, if you haven't already checked out the breathing video I did, you're looking at how you're going to control that pressure from your respiratory diaphragm, your abdominal wall, your spinal muscles in the back, and your pelvic floor while you're adding load to it. So your breath patterns might be different than, say, yoga class or Pilates class. In Pilates, we're going to use breath to either facilitate a movement or coordinate or control a movement to enhance engagement for that control. You're going to use breath to allow you to deepen a stretch. You're going to use breath to still play with that pressure in your abdomen. So like, maybe because it's less weight, you can exhale as you straighten and lengthen everything out, and you're going to play with that. So you might have an opposite breath pattern than what your traditional strength trainer is telling you. By the way, if you check out the breathing video, that's all I say about breathing, is that it's a tool. There's no one right way. It's about you learning how to use it as a tool to facilitate the movement that you need. Number 3 is low impact versus high impact. Once again, traditional strength training, you're going to be looking at high impact. You're increasing the load on those joints. That's really great for our bones, for building muscle. That's going to be great for balance, for aging issues. Particularly, building muscle can really also help with our brain, right? So it's all related and it's all good. And that high impact is going to add that load to your joints, which can also facilitate stability. All right, so doesn't mean that low or high impact one is better or worse. It's great if you can get both in. Whereas Pilates is known for its low impact, right? We're going to use TheraBands. We're going to use the spring or a ball. We're going to use springs on the equipment. We're going to use some light dumbbells rather than heavier loads, so that way you can still organize, focus on that coordination and control, looking at all those pieces, doing that full body engagement, coordinating it with your breath. You're adding all of those elements in, and there's a little bit more, I like to use the word yawn. So I wouldn't say stretch, like you're not sitting around stretching. You're really active and participatory in every movement in Pilates when you're doing it well. But it's a little bit more yawning. Everything's thinking about like length in the joints, space in the joints, and control when you're in that lengthened, spacious place, right? So it's two different purposes. And you may be a human who, for whatever reason, health or just personal preference, prefers a low impact, or for health reasons needs a lower impact scenario. That being said, when you feel strong enough, maybe you start Pilates on the equipment where you get some impact, but it's really controlled, low impact. It's not heavy loads. Once you feel comfortable there, you feel a little bit stronger. I really think it's great to get some sort of vertical practice where you're really getting yourself upright, adding dumbbells, finding a really knowledgeable strength training practitioner that could guide you into adding loads gradually. So progressively adding more and more load just to feel some joint stability. So let's recap. Traditional strength training is about adding more muscle, more load, coordinating on that end. Pilates is more low impact. We're working the full body and every single exercise and coordinating it with our breath and breath control to facilitate that. Now, both are wonderful practices, and there are many, many, many more movement practices that I encourage you to explore and do, as long as it's a healthy choice for you. Because at the end of the day, we want you to integrate strength training, Pilates, yoga, walking, running, climbing, whatever it is that you like to do, to integrate those practices so you really have this rich movement experience in your life that not only keeps your body healthy, but also your brain agile and adaptable, because they go together, this body and this brain. If you stuck around this long for my chit chat, let's get to the mat. Come to your hands and knees. We're gonna do a quick cat-cow spinal circle warm up, and then we're gonna flip-flop between Pilates and some more traditional strength training in the context of what I can do. So hands down underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. You're gonna push the ground away with your hands and shins as you curl the tail under, rippling through the spine, rounding all the way to your head drops. And then slowly let your tail go up, let your spine drop down, going into extension of your spine, all the way up to your head and neck. Two more like that, rounding as you exhale, pushing the ground away. Shoulders are not your earrings. Tail goes up, rippling through, breathing in. Last one, exhale, rounding. And inhale, going out. Then I want you to make a circle. So I want you to find a happy medium where you're not rounded or curled. And you're gonna look over to one side. So I'm wagging my tail to one side and my head to one side. And then I'm gonna round, pass through the center in that flexed spine, go around to the other side, and then come center. Two more in that same direction, whichever way you're going. Make sure that you're breathing nice and full. And last one. I like an exhale here because I can really sort of compress my organs with my abdominals as I exhale. And then inhale as I go around, even letting my chest stretch. And then go the other way. Breathing as you circle. Two more. Pushing the ground away with your hands and your shins. Just your friendly reminder. One more. All right, and then come center. From there, you're gonna come to rest on your back. You're gonna start with your knees bent, and as you get comfortable on the mat, maybe you have head support, maybe you don't, I want you to wiggle around on the mat and think I'm creating the most space between my head and my tail, and also between the back ribs here and the butt, or the pelvis, right? So I'm gonna wiggle, rock, lift my head up, lengthen, lower back down, rock a little in my pelvis, because the first thing we're gonna do is the 100, right? So the 100 Pilates exercise is the first one, kind of like a warm up. You're controlling and activating your whole body, and you're practicing pumping and breathing. We'll probably do like the 30 or the 50 today. And I'm going to give you some variations as we move through it. So I'm going to start off in one modification, and then I'll build on it until you're in the full 100. So the first thing you're going to do is have your arms down by your side. I want you to press your arms back into the mat and feel when you push your arms, especially the back of your upper arm, how that activates the back of your shoulder and might even push your ribs up. So then you're going to work your abs to pull your ribs down. Now, if that pulls a lot in your shoulders and your neck, you need a little head support, and that's okay. Just grab it, roll your mat up, whatever. But keep your arms a little active because that's the back of the armpit, shoulder onto the ribcage activity you want to help your obliques fire as you're doing this. So then you're going to squeeze your feet together. Maybe you squeeze the knees too. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, pull the belly back towards the ground, wrapping and stabilizing there as you bring your legs up to a tabletop position, knee over hip. Notice if you're off to one side or the other. Did your ribs stay down? Even though your navel may not be on the ground, but think about it pulling towards the ground. But really pay attention to those ribs and shoulders. Draw your chin a little towards your throat. Look down in between your thighs. Float your arms up off the ground, but keep squeezing the back of that and start to breathe here. Now, this might be even too much. Like sometimes we need to start less. We just do one leg. Or we have both legs down. We just do this. Or we have legs up. That part's fine, but my neck can't do it. So you do it here. And you're breathing for 5 pumps in. And you're breathing for 5 pumps out. If you're willing to add on, you could straighten the legs. Shoulders away from the ears, squeezing a little bit the back of the armpits, reaching through your fingertips. Inhale for 5 pumps. Exhale. This breathing issue, right? This back breathing is really going to help you. When you're ready, you lower your legs a little bit. Inhale. Maybe you lower them even more. Exhale. Squeeze the hips. Hips to ribs. Powerhouse. One more. Bring your knees in, hug them into your chest, rock a little side to side, excuse me. Woo. It's hard to keep breathing and talking at the same time when I'm doing that, right? So take a moment and rest. You have lots of variations on that, right? Head up, head down, modifications, I should say, right? So if your neck is not strong enough yet, you might do like the first 3, your head is up, you're practicing the posterior lateral breathing, the belly control, the arms, all of that connection with your feet down and your head up, or maybe your feet and legs up and out, whatever works for you. And then at some point you're like, I gotta bring my head down. But really, when you bring your head down, it's easier on your neck, which is nice, but it's harder to keep your ribs on the ground. So there's no martyr situation to keeping your head up. It's actually sometimes more difficult. So you're engaging everything, especially if you get those legs out straight and low. You're going to get your glutes wrapping into your pelvic floor, wrapping into your abdominals. Your arms are active into the abdominals. So a lot of core focus with your breath, with control. Like a lot of focus on how you coordinate and control your movements in Pilates. Now we're going to come back up to standing. But again, I'm not a traditional strength training person. So I'm going to use this because this is what I have. I don't have like a barbell set with me. I'm going to grab my weights. You're going to find a comfortable stance. Some humans need a little bit of turnout. Some people can be parallel. I'm going to be kind of in between, whatever feels good as I do this. And I'm really going to focus on this engagement from my hips to my feet. The reason I know that is because I spent a lot of time exploring my biomechanics and anatomy, both learning it and then embodying it and applying it to not only my Pilates, but also strength training principles, right? So it is important to do many different things. It does not mean that one is better than the other. I want you to always come back as we're squatting and lifting. You don't have to use dumbbells. You don't have to use barbell. You can just do the movement. But I implore you that once you feel comfortable with the movement, do add a little weight because it is important to load your joints, to build muscle. It's not only important for our balance and strength and muscle building, but that muscle also plays a role into our brain health. You're going to do 4 more. Breathing in and coming up. And breathing in. See, I'm doing Pilates breath. I think in traditional strength training, you're going to go exhale down, inhale up. So again, play with it. Go back to the previous video I did about breathing and how really your breath is a tool at the end of the day. There's no one way to use it. There are ways that you can use it to help you facilitate whatever movement or exercise you're doing. Very mindfully, if you've got dumbbells or barbell, take them down. You're going to come back to seated on the mat. Now we're seated on the mat with the knees bent, feet planted. I want the feet, the whole foot down on both sides, and the knees and the toes right on this parallel track. Knees straight up towards the ceiling, hands behind your thighs, shoulders onto your rib cage. So connecting the shoulders into the trunk, the ribs, while you're also going to hug your hips. I always think someone's pushing from the outside to the in to kind of just compress me to the center just a little bit. And you're going to pull your pelvis under. So you're going to kind of think, I'm rolling my butt underneath me until your arms are straight. Everyone's body mechanics are a little bit different. This is where if you need head support, definitely have it back there. Take a moment and think shoulders away from my ears. So my shoulder blades are really on my rib cage, but then I've got to work my belly to pull my navel back, pull the back ribs back and up, go off of my pelvis as my pelvis is curled under. Take a breath there and slowly keep this curve as you roll up. You can use your arms for help. And then sit up all the way. We're going to do that one more time. You're going to roll back. So we're going to do roll backs and then we're going to do roll ups. So a lot of breath to support your control. You're going to take an inhale here. Exhale, scoop the belly back a little bit more, shoulders on the ribs. On your next exhale, I want you to think my tail stays where it is as long as possible as I initiate rolling up. So I have this moment of almost stretching and creating more space in that back body as I roll all the way up and then sitting up. If you've got it in you, you're going to reach your arms parallel to the ground. If not, keep the hands by your side or by your legs. Shoulders again, pull the belly back, curl the butt under. Let yourself curl. Take a moment when you're back to a place where you're like, I feel something. Breathe into that back body. Exhale, now you're going to pull the belly back, pull the ribs back, but let the butt keep curling. Keep curling, shoulders down, and then all the way down with the head. Now you're going to do roll-ups. So we've done roll backs, which is just a precursor to roll-up, right? It's not its own specific exercise in the repertoire, but it's just a precursor, right? It's just a way to start to train yourself and work on those muscles. Now, you can do roll-up, again, using your arms for support, legs bent, legs straight. We're going to do straight legs, but if you need bent legs and your arms on your legs, do that. You're going to reach your arms up towards the ceiling. You are going to stretch overhead. And as you do this, I'm going to think about pushing, like squeezing my heels together and pushing them down so my legs are active and wrapping my inner thighs together, wrapping my outer hips to center, reaching the arms overhead like a full body stretch. Then when I reach my arms up and lift my head up, I'm thinking inhale here. Like the inhale into my ribs helps me come up. Now I've got to exhale consistently as I unweight my pelvis, so there's no change in my voice as I come all the way up. Now my knees wanted to bend as I did that. You can work on that to see, can I get my legs straight and on top of my sits bones? Or do I need to bend my knees? Play with it, right? You might not have a perfect picture yet. Then you're gonna roll back down with control. Think about the legs really reaching. In our dream scenario, our legs don't really move, our feet don't really slide that much. But you know what? That's our ideals. Not always what life looks like. You're going to inhale as you lift up. Exhale, keep rolling, 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 rolling up. Going up and over. Sitting up and rolling back down, curling the butt under. Reach the arms. This is a really great practice for practicing getting up and out of bed as long as your spine can do it. And you're reaching, pulling that belly back and up the whole time, shoulders away from the ears. And then releasing. And you're going to come back to your hands and knees. When you come back to your hands and knees, you're going to walk your hands a little forward and your knees a little back. Your hands are in alignment with your shoulder. I mean, sometimes I go a little bit wider. And we're going to be doing push-ups, basically. And I'm going to start kneeling push-up, and then I'm going to switch to lifting my knees off because I am still working on my core repair after my last pregnancy. You know, you might have a surgery or a pregnancy or an injury. So listen to where your body and what your body needs and where it is today. I first want you to activate your arms about pushing the hands through the ground. Stretch back and breathe in, letting all that stretch and breathe there. Exhale, deepen the stretch in the hips. Pull with your arms to get your shoulders over your hands. Think about the inner thighs hugging in, lifting your navel, your ribs, your head away from the ground. Hug the elbows as close as you feel comfortable as you lower down and press up. Now you could go straight away with knees off. Absolutely okay. Breathe and press up. So a little bit more push-ups. Traditional strength training, right? Using your body weight. You could load this. You could put, a lot of times if I'm doing this in front of my kids are gonna crawl on my back, right? Now, you could just put a weight on your back with a flat round weight. You could add resistance in other ways. We can do core stability challenges here. You know, there's all sorts of fun things, but we all know push-ups, right? Then you're gonna tuck your toes, you're gonna lift the knees off, you're pushing the ground away, you're gonna keep bending. Now notice if you start to sag, lift it away and straighten. If your knees need to be up, lift them up. If they need to be down, keep them down. One more. Then from there, walk your feet a little forward. Push with your arms to stretch back. Let not your belly go to your thighs. Let your chest go between your arms to give a little stretch after that activation. Breathing there. And then you're going to come back down to your hands and knees. Walk the hands back underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and go back to your cat-cow where you started. Curl the tail in under. Ripple through the whole spine. Shoulders are on those ribs, not your ears. Let your head drop. Lift your belly away from the mat. Breathe there, and then go the other way. Rippling out. And then doing that again. Rounding. And then rippling out. And then if you need more, you can do this whole thing over again as like a different set, maybe with the next variation up to challenge yourself. Or you just be like, that feels interesting, to vary a Pilates exercise to a strength training exercise and back and forth. And there's endless combinations of this. And like I said at the beginning, this is not right or wrong. There's no, I teach Pilates and other kinds of movements like that. I don't teach traditional strength training, but I do it because I know that I need it for my health and my body and my mental health as well. And it's so important to have a variety of different things to keep both our brain and our bodies strong and adaptable and moving forward as we age in this life. All right, if you like this video, make sure to click the like button below and subscribe so you know when the next video is going to come out. Until next time, keep moving.